welcome to this episode of Who Let Me Read This, the podcast where me and a group of friends discuss the wildly inappropriate books of our youth, often badly written. For some reason, everybody loved them, but we read them anyway, and it's affected our therapy bills over the years. Hello, welcome everyone. Hello.
Our book this month is a Laura Holterman special. She has chosen the book this month, and so I'm going to be moderating just a little bit. I'm Sarah Wallisch. We also have with us here today Michelle White and Andrea Roedel-Schroeder. Ha ha! I got it on the first try. Eat it, Laura.
Live that down.
Our book this month is Die Softly by Christopher Pike. A gem from Laura's childhood.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
Before we get started talking about Die Softly, I do want to make sure that we thank Sexy Hackers, Sexy Hackers Clothing, sexyhackers.com, for the space for producing our show and for outfitting us in some sweet merch.
Swag.
Cool shirts.
Major winks.
If you're watching us on YouTube today, make sure that you like and subscribe by ringing the bell. Maybe it's up here or up here. I don't know. It's maybe up on one of the top or the sides.
It's somewhere.
I don't
Find
know.
the bell and ring it.
If you're listening to us on your app of choice for podcasts, make sure you give us a 5-star review because algorithms work in a way that I don't understand.
Magic.
On iTunes, it's the purple play button.
Yeah. Sweet.
I think first graders understand it more than I do.
I think
them
first
pretend they go,
graders
like and
definitely.
subscribe. I'm like, what?
Huh? And they're like, yeah, it's right here. And they know exactly where to point in their video for like being
pretend
pointing
video,
right
yeah.
at the button.
Sorcery.
Anyway, we're not that old.
A little bit. I'm that old.
I mean,
I'll just say it.
we're old enough to have read Die Softly at far too young an age.
Yeah. I was probably about 10.
Oh my.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom, what's strychnine?
So we're going to be covering a couple fun highlights in the beginning of the book. Yeah. So we're going to go through a couple of different plot points and a whole lot of WTF moments on
So
this
many.
to start off. So the majority of the story is told through a series of flashbacks as Herb, our hero, describes the sequence of events to a Detective Fitzsimmons. To make it even more disjointed, Pike really kicks things off with kind of a David Lynch-style dream sequence to foreshadow and meet all the characters. So we have Sammie and Theo, who are Herb's best friends. I don't know why anyone's friends with him. Alexa, his cheerleader love with a heart of gold dream girl. Aww. Lisa, her bitchy best friend.
That's me. I mean,
Steven, the mean jock who's dating Alexa. And Roger, Theo's brother, and Lisa's boyfriend, who died in a cocaine overdose / car accident 6 months ago. Yay, fun.
He might be my favorite character.
Yeah, you know
Roger.
what?
Roger.
Justice
He's
for
dead.
Roger.
Justice for Roger. He's dead the whole time.
So we're starting off with this book where Herb's friend Sammie has encouraged him to use his amazing photography skills.
so good.
So good. To take pictures of cheerleaders in the shower on Friday. But he was unsure because Alexa might like him. Oh no, what do I do?
Yeah, right.
No. Hormones win.
Of course.
Then next we get an intense, super high-tech camera equipment description from 1991.
Yes.
That goes on
so
for like
boring.
pages and pages.
He hooks the computer up to a VCR. Super high tech, fancy equipment, the VCR.
Yeah.
To make it delay, I guess. this.
Yeah, there's
Like,
a lot of
put a
hand
delay
wavy
timer
like
and-
engineering going on.
Yes, Christopher Pike, we know you're smart.
Yeah.
I don't believe that Christopher Pike actually knows anything about
absolutely
engineering.
Or anything.
Don't sue me, Christopher Pike.
Yes.
And then, so he does this. He breaks into the showers and sets up his cameras. And then the next day, he decides to just ditch school. But when he's driving to the locker room the next day, he sees a fiery car crash where Roger died 6 months ago. Turns out it's Lisa.
Oh no.
And her autopsy reveals she was a longtime cocaine user. Woo.
Yep.
To be fair, Sammie said to take pictures for revenge and to pass them out and publicly
yeah.
shame all the popular girls.
Right.
So, I mean, her reasoning was good.
Sound reasoning.
Totally.
Exactly. So let's go back to this first point. So Sammie is really the driving force in this.
Yeah, she instigates the whole thing of like, isn't this a great idea? Let's do this. Those bad, pretty girls.
I'm gonna distribute the pictures at the end of the year senior party.
Yes.
Like
Of them
that's
naked,
her plan.
which wouldn't embarrass them at all because they're all hot. So I don't even get
Yeah.
that. They'd be
Right.
like, yeah, that's me in that shower. Mm.
Yeah.
Immediately, like my first assumption until much later in the book was just like, so Sammie's real gay. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if only the book was about how gay Sammie is,
And that
it
yeah,
would have been a
be
lot
much
better
better.
of a book.
yeah.
I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
But Herb has like zero anything like in terms of personality, conscience, thought process. So he's just like, yeah, okay, let's put a thing in the showers. Like Herb is the worst. He's the literal worst.
The worst. He's like a mix between an incel and like a nice guy TM.
Yeah,
Where
it's
he's
a
like,
lot.
I am so nice, girls don't like me.
Nobody
wants
have
to have
greasy
sex with
hair.
me. I don't know.
Yeah, he's like super tall, very skinny, like long straggly hair. He washes his jeans once every 6 months.
Whether they need it or not.
Yes. He works in a factory, by the way, after school.
You wear your jeans
So, like-
every day and also to work at a factory, and you're saying that you're going to wash them every 6 months, whether they need it or
Yeah.
not. Because I guarantee it's not or not.
No, it's they needed it. They needed it many moons ago. He like forgets things all the time. He talks about how he doesn't remember like anything ever, including important events of his childhood. Like Herb needs a doctor, a therapist, like a life coach. Herb needs a lot.
This entire book took place in my head where my dad lived when I was in high school, where I lived for like 6 months on an old road. This whole book. So it was very odd. I could
Yeah,
I
Michelle's
actually
dad
had a
is
friend.
actually the inspiration for the song Old Town Road.
Well,
totally
I had
true.
a friend who on our road got hit by a drunk driver and died while we were in high school. So I like pictured
Yeah.
it all came together for me.
Yes.
Oh. And part of his physical description, or how he describes himself, he was unkempt. Should not mean that your hair comes out in clumps. Is that how he describes
Yeah.
it? He's like, when you brush your hair, it just comes out in clumps.
Yeah.
And he never asks out a girl because he knows he would just be turned down. He's a realist. And I was like, if I have to hear that bullshit crap one more time from dudes, I'm going to throw him out a window.
I read that part aloud to Nick, my partner, and I was like, this fucking guy. And he was like, what are you reading? What are you reading? And I was like, yeah. Uh-huh.
Exactly.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like some guys need to be more realists.
That's fair. And
I feel like I might have marked this page where he describes himself.
And not only does he describe himself like in the least charming terms of all time, but like every other character, unless they are a prototypically hot lady, gets like the roughest description. His friend Sammie, he spends about half
We're
a
reading
page
that aloud.
talking about her. I think my favorite part is the description of her hair, because that's just brutal. That one I remember offhand. Her hair was like a dish towel that got stuck in the garbage disposal.
Yep. Like,
I'm
this
sorry,
is
what?
your friend.
yep.
Herb is the worst, you guys. I know I say every dude in every book that we read is the worst, but like,
I don't know what this says about Christopher Pike.
Right.
Christopher Pike has some skewed views of humans, but particularly women.
Yeah, when I was like reading the book and writing down little notes, I definitely wrote a note that said, Christopher Pike doesn't like women very much, ? And then like 3 pages later, I'm like, just cross that question mark out.
Exclamation point.
Exclamation point.
Underline.
Can we read the description of Sammie aloud,
Yes,
though? I feel
yeah.
like it's egregious enough that it
Yes.
has to be read.
Yes.
Of his best friend.
Of his, yes.
How he describes her.
One of his best friends.
Of his 2 friends.
Yes. Of his 2 friends, this is one of them.
I'm a fan of his other friend.
Yeah, Theo's not.
Theo's
Yeah.
well,
pretty solid.
drives drunk a lot, but
He'd known Sammie forever. She had hung out with Theo and him since they were kids exploring the hills surrounding Manville. Back then, she had been a tomboy, and she'd grown up not entirely feminine. Gay? Maybe? Hopefully? No. First, there were her clothes. She dressed like an ex-convict. A male ex-convict. She was fond of wearing sweatshirts, even on 90-degree days. That day, she had on an extra-large, long-sleeve wool shirt with a stencil of Fred Flintstone on the front. P.S. I want that shirt. Sammie was also overweight. She didn't have a body. Her body had her. Somewhere inside, hidden beneath the rolls of fat, was the real Sammie. Ooh. She could have been an attractive girl. Herb knew because he'd seen her baby pictures. Oh, excuse me, what? He'd seen her when she was a baby, although that time period naturally lay outside the domain of his higher brain centers. Sorry, what? Her hair was light brown, healthy enough, but cut like a dish towel that had fallen into a garbage disposal. She had bangs that had grown into tangled strings that spent most of their time collecting sweat. She never wore makeup. She said she was allergic to it, but Herb thought she simply didn't know how to put it on. Or if she did put it on, it would show that she cared. And above all else, Sammie Smith didn't want anyone to know that she cared what anybody thought about her.
And she does not care what you think, Herb.
And Herb.
Ugh.
Is that, I'm now picturing, what is her name? Ali Sheedy from...
oh,
Right? Ellie Sheedy,
Yes.
super hottie
But-
from The Breakfast Club.
Yes, but like a fat version.
Yep. Like, oh.
Me
So-
in high school.
So that's his best friend, and she's encouraging him to take pictures of cheerleaders in the shower to get back at them. And then we launch into this amazing description of camera equipment from the 90s.
for so long.
Why? Christopher Pike, you are not a photography buff. We get it. You took one basic class.
Yeah.
You're fine.
He knows how to develop film, though.
Yeah.
Twice he
Yeah.
explains it.
So we know that Charles Dickens got paid by the word. Do you think Christopher Pike had a word count that he had to meet for this book, and he was like, "Oh, let me just describe this in great detail, meet my word count."
Possibly because it's not very long.
No.
It doesn't have a complicated plot, so he really had to dig for... I mean, I would have went into something else, though. Like
Well, yeah, and his choices to ramble on about are buck wild. Like, he spends pages and pages on the camera setup and developing film, and then we get like a half page maybe about like super intense, interesting things that happen.
Yeah,
Like one little
things-
sentence.
Yeah.
Anything interesting wraps up super, super quickly, and then he spends 5 pages talking about
Right.
how he hooked up a camera to a VCR to take time-lapse pictures.
her dad's a paraplegic. I think she did it. Anyways.
Yeah. Just breezes through a lot of things.
Obviously, we have a lot of WTFs
Yes.
so
about
many.
everything about this book. But before we hit those, we want to take a quick second for a message from our sponsors, Sexy Hackers. SexyHackers.com.
SexyHackers.com.
And we're back with some delightful WTFs about Die Softly by Christopher Pike.
I like your cover
Laura's
better than
pick.
my cover.
Yeah, show the other cover. So there are 2 different covers for this book. One of them looks like maybe they reissued it.
Yes.
And we're like, let's make it more modern and edgy. Mine is straight up like 1991.
Cursive
fluorescent
writing.
cursive writing. I love it.
Ours looks like a 1998 direct to VHS thriller, like that you would pick up at Blockbuster.
Yes.
If that doesn't exist yet, can we make this movie?
Starring a pre-Dawson's Creek Katie Holmes.
Yeah.
As Sammie, because they couldn't actually cast anyone fat.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, of course not.
The 90s.
So I'd say before we dive into any of our WTFs, the car accident nonsense that came
goodness.
up. So can I first say, so Herb's just allowed to just ditch school whenever, I guess?
Well, his mom's a single mom, and she's working desperately to support them.
And he's working, what is
How
it,
can she
like
be
6
concerned?
p.m. to 2:30 a.m.
Yeah,
on
he
school
and
nights.
Herb both work like second
Yeah.
shift
think
at
it's
a.
12:30 or is it 2:30?
I think
maybe
it's 2:30. Because he works, he
Still.
said he works the split shift, so that would be like a mid between second and third shift.
Yeah. So
It was
working,
bonkers.
Yeah. Well,
like at the electronics plant.
wages
So-
have not kept up with inflation.
Clearly.
Even in 1991.
Clearly. Yeah. But obviously this was not a problem because he's 18, almost 19 in the
Why are you still in high school?
right? That's what I was wondering.
I mean, think about what we know about her. I can't say I'm
He's
super
a
shocked
C
that maybe he
plus
struggled in
when
student.
school.
you're little, when you're like 4 going on 5, like they kind of give, if you're in that
Do you
middle
think his
ground.
mom redshirted him?
His
That's
mom
what
might
that's
have,
called.
his mom might have redshirted him and been like, well, he's not quite ready for kindergarten yet. Because you're either going to be the youngest kid there or you're going to be the oldest kid.
Thanks.
I actually think it's potentially a more responsible parenting choice to have them be the oldest versus the youngest.
Depending
So
on
they
their
can-
maturity.
Yeah, depending on their maturity.
And Herb
But
doesn't
based
have
on
that.
what we know.
So
We know that.
Clearly no. So he takes the day off of school, and we get this description of like Herb's day off, which is the worst 90s movie ever.
Yeah.
Definitely not the Ferris Bueller. He really just lays around and eats cereal, which I'm not knocking
He's
it. It's just
Cameron.
not a great description.
But not because Cameron's awesome and
Yeah.
Herb is the worst.
he's like,
Cameron from Ferris Bueller, the friend who doesn't want to go
yeah,
anywhere. He just wants to stay at home.
he's like Cameron in like the bad timeline. Like he's bad place Cameron.
So Herb's taking the day off school. He waits until it's dark out. He's now driving back to the school locker rooms where he set up his super high-tech equipment that no one's going to notice a VCR in the corner of
he
the
even
showers.
says there's cords dangling and like it's
Or do they notice and they like it a little bit?
Oh, whole other discussion. And you know, he's like broken into the school and done all this setup stuff. And I'm sorry, but you're gonna put your photography equipment from someone who actually does do photography. You're gonna put that in your showers, in the shower with the steam. All right, fine. Yeah. So he skips school. He's going back to get his film, so he can develop it. Woo!
Well, we skipped over him taking pictures of the cheerleaders.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
true,
he
prior.
took pictures of the cheerleaders for the
the yearbook.
The yearbook. Because Sammie originally did it and she messed him up, he thinks, on purpose.
That's right.
So he gets to take pictures of those cheerleaders and does a good job and ends up giving the prettiest one a ride home. And
Alexa.
eating at McDonald's with her.
yes.
Super romantic.
The whole like hour that it takes him to fall madly in love with her to the degree that he loses all sense of like logic and like
oh my gosh.
cohesion later in the book.
But guess who
they ate at
comes and
McDonald's.
messes it up?
Sammie.
And Steven. Well,
Well, yeah, Steven, her boyfriend.
Yes.
but Sammie shows up. I was all like, you know,
Give me a ride.
yeah.
My car
won't
doesn't work.
start. No, don't check it. Just believe me that it doesn't start. I need a ride home.
Sammie's not discreet. Like nobody in this book is particularly discreet, but Sammie's the least discreet of a group of people that are very not discreet.
But he's like on his way to get his film and is like, what's this? I see some smoke. Oh, a car on fire.
I better go check it
car
out.
crash. I better go check it out. I better climb down a ravine to check out this horrible car crash.
Because you can't be bothered to wash your blue jeans once a week, even. No, more than once in 6 months. But let's climb down a ravine.
Do it once a month.
Yeah.
That's fine.
They're jeans.
They're jeans. I rewear. But man, oh man, 6 months. Come on.
For real.
And this is before, like, the
He's
dawn
lucky.
of Febreze. Like,
He's lucky those pants didn't start on fire.
yes.
Right.
So, like, yeah, he hikes on down there, you know, with his Herculean effort to see a totally burned body.
Almost
An
burned.
almost totally burned body of Lisa, the mean cheerleader.
Alexa's best friend.
no.
But it's okay because she was bitchy.
Yeah.
He got there just in time to see her face melt.
Oh, yes. What a description.
I actually put a note in the
Right
book
off
at
the
that
skull.
point that just said, "It's not that easy to burn a body." Discuss. Did Christopher Pike? Well, I guess 1991 was pre-Law and Order, so maybe he didn't know that it's really hard to burn a body.
I still feel like the Discovery Channel existed. There must have been some true crime shows. Like,
SVU? I feel like it's been
Yeah.
on for like 30 years.
even
I
like
think it's something like 18 seasons.
Yeah.
Or, it's a very
Dateline,
long time, but
something.
22, quite
22,
long
but that's
enough.
okay.
But yeah, like Dateline, 60 Minutes,
But
Unsolved Mysteries.
yeah, but back in 1991, it was weird to ask the question, like, hey, guys, do faces melt? You know?
Yeah.
Now with
How
the-
long would a car have to be burning to make the body in it unrecognizable? Like, just for my book, though.
Yeah. Because now you have to, back then you had to ask people that. Now you just ask the internet and it's fine.
Right.
But
the internet is much less judgy than your local reference librarian.
which
P.S. I love reference librarians, so like get down with your bad selves. But
Yes.
also, you know that when somebody comes in and asks you a weird question, you're like, oh, geez.
Let me just stop at the funeral home real quick.
yeah.
So tell me about unrecognizable burned bodies, Undertaker.
Ask your local undertaker.
I have I've mentioned before that I'm pretty sure I was on a list at my library. There was a series of books in like the 80s through the 90s that I think were published up until like the early 2000s that were all crime reference for writers. And I definitely like repeatedly checked out. There was one on wounds and injuries and one on like poisons and potions. And it was all about the effects of things on bodies and how long things take to happen. And in retrospect, I'm really glad I was never like questioned by the police because I spent a lot of time with those books.
it's really interesting. It's like the body farms, which I learned about on SVU, where they put out dead bodies and then they study them to learn what affects what, which for future reference, that's what I would like to be done. You know, put me out for
Plant me.
science and
Yeah.
plant me. I'm kidding. No, it's all written in there. I told Marcus very specifically I want to be turned into a diamond that's hidden into a home, and it has to be turned into like this haunted house situation. And that's
Amazing.
how he celebrates my death every year. Yeah, it was a whole discussion.
I love it.
Mine is being thrown into a bog. Becoming a bog person. Oh. Yeah.
I-
Your
But
why
soft
wait until
tissues
you're
are
dead?
preserved and your bones get spongy.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds comfy.
Just do that now.
Sounds great. Bog witch.
The only thing I request is to be in a big fluffy dress with no shoes on.
Nice.
Gotta be comfy in the afterlife.
And put blush on me.
Do not forget. Oh my goodness. So now we've come upon this fiery car accident, and it's exactly where so Lisa's on fire. That's exactly where her boyfriend burned up in a car accident.
Roger.
Yeah, Roger.
Who also was a coke fiend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know this yet, though.
Yes.
He had lots of coke in his body, but his brother Theo doesn't believe that. His brother Theo thinks that Lisa had something to do with his death. He's convinced it was her fault somehow, but Sammie was her alibi. Sammie was like, no, I saw her at the movies that night.
Which immediately is a red flag because those bitches ain't going to the movies together.
No.
Yeah.
True.
No.
But
They weren't together. They were just, you saw each other there, but no teenage girl that I know goes to the movies alone. That's something you grow into an older age that you're
I
like,
still
"Ooh,
don't."
Movies alone.
Oh my God, I love going to movies alone. But when I was in high school, never. I would have been like, no, I can't. Someone might see me.
I also feel like Christopher Pike doesn't know that much about cocaine.
Yeah, probably fair.
That's made pretty clear throughout the whole book. I think there's
He's like long-term effects. I'm like, what were those long-term effects they found in this burned body? I'm pretty sure that would have been all burned up.
Yeah. Your nose would be the first to
Nasal
go.
damage,
Like,
I think, is the only thing you can really tell.
Yeah.
In that short of a life, like they're only 17. It can't be that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I started doing cocaine when I was 4 years old.
Right? Really wanted to crawl. Oh. And those are things that I didn't pick up on as a kid. So like I said, I read this when I was like 10 years old on accident. Totally sneaking books from the adult section of the library, because our 2-room library in Nakusa, Wisconsin was like kids books and then adults back here. And so I would like reach behind the shelf and like grab a book. Because you get yelled at, you get kicked out of those sections by the librarian. They didn't say anything when I actually checked out the books, though, which is weird. Not paying attention
They
at all.
only knew which books were in which section by where they were on the floor.
Yeah.
And so as long as they didn't see you in the wrong section, they were like, yeah, I don't know, it must be out of the section that she was supposed to be in.
Right? So reading this as a, and again, I don't know, I guess as a kid, and I definitely like reread it over the years, Herb was not as bad of a guy. Something in me was like, I don't know, he's kind of weird, but he wasn't like a bad person, and that definitely changed reading it this time through.
Oh, yeah.
Hugely.
He's the worst.
It's like the Xander effect.
Oh,
When
yeah,
you
Xander
watch
on
Buffy as
yeah.
a young like teenager or a preteen, you're like, Xander's just like me. He's awkward and goofy, and then you watch as an adult and you're like, he's a sociopath kind of like.
the worst. Yeah.
But I think
I
that's
think he was the worst.
Oh, I hate him. I hate him so much.
I just thought he was dumb.
Well,
like, just naive. Like, come on, dude. But not intentionally the worst or like,
He
was
does
just like,
describe his mom a little too
yes. I was trying to remember.
uncomfortably for.
Yeah.
There's a whole bit where he talks about this was my first thing. I was like, you're not just a weird teenage boy, you're like a weird human in general. He talks about like his mom and how she's just as attractive and her body is just as hot as any of the teenagers.
Yep.
And that he stopped being comfortable with physical affection from her when he like got into the 7th grade and started thinking about sex all the time.
ew.
Yep.
Which like,
Herb, do you want to fuck your mom? Herb? Do you want to fuck your mom?
like there's a
we
weird
having a
like inability from him
Boardwalk
to
Empire
like
moment?
to pull apart like what is sexual contact and what is not sexual contact. That like is very weird too. I mean I grew up in a very like affectionate family. Like,
Yeah.
I'll hold hands with my mom like just casually because we're like weirdos.
Nope.
I'm
But
not.
you know, like hugging and sitting on the couch and being like up in each other's business, like
That's my family too.
that's things
My mom's
that
like,
we do.
sleep on the floor if you're scared. No joke. Never slept in a bed with my mother ever. I have no memory. It's like, if you are scared, you sleep on the floor.
And
And I
Herb could have benefited from that, I think. Herb could have benefited from a
Yeah.
little more.
sleeping on the floor.
No, just
Some
like
boundary setting.
just boundaries. Just boundaries. Herb needs boundaries.
well, it's
Yes.
just the two of them since Dad left when he was pretty
7, I believe.
Yeah.
He said. Yeah.
He was a youngin'.
crucial age.
Yeah.
Herb's a mess, guys.
And like Laura had said before, a lot of this is told in flashback. So not only is this all of Herb's like cuckoo banana stuff happening, but it's like what he is.
Thinking.
It's what was apparently important to him, important enough for him to remember.
Yeah. Which is bonkers.
Yeah.
It's all bonkers. Like, he is the weirdest narrator. It's a journey.
It's a journey that we are going to continue on next week. Aha! Yes, we are out of time for this week, but next week we are going to be back with the next piece of the plot of Die Softly by Christopher Pike and a whole lot more WTFs because this book is full of them.
So many.
Christopher Pike, give us the call. We'll chat.
Don't call us, please.
Don't call us.
Don't do that.
Thank you to sexyhackers.com for outfitting us in wonderful t-shirts.
Super cool space.
Make sure that you subscribe
Wherever
it's up
it is.
here
Ring the
or
bell.
over here,
Like.
or it might be down here.
Right here.
Like a thing. Subscribe to a thing. If you're listening on your podcast app of choice, make sure that you give us a review and subscribe so you know when the next one's happening.
Woo!
Yeah.
Bye.
We'll see you guys all next week on Wednesday. Bye.
SexyHackers.com! Stream Team!